For telling the truth about a high-profile traffic stop. The stop involved the chief deputy in Anoka County and Morgan Graham's son of a U.S. senator. Trish Van Pilsum has tonight's Dimension.
It's called the Thin Blue Line, the unspoken code that keeps cops from turning on one another. Tom Conroy thinks he knows what happens when you cross it.
My career right now as a law enforcement officer has come to a stop.
And yet every couple of weeks he goes through what is almost a ritual now, meticulously preparing for a job interview. More than a dozen times in the past couple of years, he's tried and failed to get work as a cop.
I'm still duking this out is because I feel somebody has damaged my reputation, and that's something that I hold very dear.
His was a reputation worth protecting. In the mid-1990s, he was a special deputy, a volunteer reservist for the Anoka County Sheriff's Department. He did well, even won an award. In 1999, he moved to Florida and for a short time worked as a police officer and a sheriff's deputy. During that time, he visited friends back in Anoka County, asked to do a ride-along with one of them one night, and just happened to end up on the now notorious Morgan Graham stop.
When deputies found Graham's, the paper says police also found in his vehicle 10 bags of marijuana and beer cans. Morgan Graham's was not charged.
Zebra 81 copy.
On the stop that night was the Sheriff's Department's number 2 man, Chief Deputy Pete Beberg. Press accounts questioned whether Beberg cut Morgan Graham's slack by not arresting him. Anoka County Sheriff Larry Padani backed his deputy chief. But then days later came the revelation there was actually an open can of beer in the car Graham's was driving. That information disputed Chief Deputy Beberg's initial account. That information came from the report requested by Anoka County and written by ride-along Tom Conroy.
This person has an exemplary career.
A clearly emotional Sheriff Padani announced that his chief deputy resigned.
He will be sorely missed by myself and by everyone in this office. It would be a tragedy to judge anybody on one incident.
That was December 1999. A few months later, Tom Conroy left Florida and returned to Minnesota and applied for a job with the Anoka County Sheriff's Office and had an interview with an Anoka County investigator.
The first day that I went in for my oral review with him, I was lectured for approximately 10 minutes on why Pete Beberg should have never lost his job within the department.
Anoka County also had done a lengthy background investigation on Conroy. Investigators do it for all deputy candidates, but Conroy believes his was inaccurate and unfair.
Extremely damaging.
Actually, the report starts out with glowing work and personal references, describing him as very honest, decent, a hard worker, trustworthy. But then the background investigation takes a turn.
4605, go ahead, Tom. Mike, I got the guy you ran.
The report suggests that Conroy overstepped his bounds as a volunteer reserve during this call, in which Conroy helps successfully trail a prowler. But the dispatch tapes, however, indicate Conroy's supervisor allowed him to take part.
Have the other car break off.
Anoka County's background investigation also criticizes Conroy for overstepping his bounds in the Morgan Graham stop by briefly searching and then taking an open beer can from Graham's car. Conroy admits some mistakes in the Graham stop, but doesn't believe that's really the issue.
What are you really in trouble for?
For turning on a light switch and having people from the outside take a closer look at the Anoka County Sheriff's Department.
The most damning thing about the background report, which can and has been passed along to other agencies, is Anoka County's clear attempt to establish a pattern of dishonesty on Conroy's part, especially when he applied for the police jobs he held in Florida.
Dimension reviewed Conroy's entire file. Clearly, there's information in his Florida employment paperwork which raises questions Anoka County couldn't help but flag. Parts are unclear, possibly misleading, although Conroy says not deliberately so.
For example, Conroy's application to a Florida police department and documentation of his training background gives the impression he may have been a sworn deputy in Anoka County in the mid-1990s rather than a volunteer reservist. However, it is clear from the Florida Police Department's own background report on Conroy that they understood he was a volunteer member of the reserves.
A character assassination. It's kind of like a shotgun approach is what I deem it at. If I shoot a shotgun full of pellets and I put 40 or 50 holes in the wall, okay, now what I have to do is to go back and try to repair each little hole. This particular position here is for the city of Boyd.
He has made calls and written letters and compiled what he says is documentation of numerous inaccuracies in the Anoka County background report.
I can do one of two things, either shut up and go away quietly or fight back for what I believe is right, and that's what I'm trying to do.
In the past 2 years, Conroy has applied to and been turned down for more than a dozen police jobs in Minnesota. Most departments don't or won't say exactly why, so it's not clear how much damage the Anoka County report has done. But in at least one case, the Pine County Sheriff's Department wrote that Conroy's background check was unsatisfactory. Anoka County would give only a written statement about Tom Conroy. The sheriff, the statement says, stands by his decision not to hire Conroy, which was based on facts firmly supported by the background investigation.
We're out on the main channel.
As for Conroy's claim he is paying the price for crossing the so-called thin blue line, Anoka County says that claim is without merit. For Dimension, I'm Trish Van Pilsum.
Mr. Conroy has appealed to the Anoka County for a background investigation to the State Department of Administration. Mediation with the county is set to begin later this month. That is one reason Anoka County can't say more about this case.